And I don't know, did you happen to watch 60 Minutes last night? I'm surprised 60 Minutes is still on the air. I'm sure Trump will target 60 Minutes next, the way he is targeting all news-gathering organizations, especially on television, in his attempt to destroy them, to remove them. Remember, an independent judiciary and an independent press are the two essential, fundamental requirements if you're going to live in a democratic form of government. And Trump is trying to destroy both. And he's succeeding. But if you watched 60 Minutes last night, the former federal prosecutor who had been fired by this filthy orange pig delivered a seriously blunt warning about what is happening to the rule of law in this country. I mean, you know, and I know, I get that. I just wonder how many people who watch 60 Minutes had that aha moment. Surely people who watch 60 Minutes understand what is happening here. But the attorney, the former federal prosecutor, Sara Levine, said, quote, "The Justice Department is under attack," end quote, by this orange-faced toilet rat, Donald Trump. She said to the person who was conducting the interview, I forget which one of their regulars it was, but she said, quote, "They're coming after the people that want to uphold the law, especially the laws that exist, and that should be terrifying to everyone," end quote. Now, Ms. Levine was one of the attorneys who helped develop and develop the charges against this filthy pig Trump and prosecute the Trump supporters who stormed the Capitol building on January 6th. And she told 60 Minutes the obvious truth that we've heard over and over again now, that she was fired because she was simply doing her job. She said, quote, "I followed the facts, I followed the law, and I got fired because I did exactly what I was supposed to do," end quote. This is what is happening. This is what is happening. And still there's not what is absolutely necessary to stop this. And that is a surge of people, millions of us, who somehow make a collective decision that we are not going to allow this fucking bum to continue to do this. And that requires millions of us taking to the streets. We have seen this happen, these kinds of revolution in, hell, pick a country, where people pour into the streets in an attempt to stop fascism or religious bullshit. And in so many instances, it works. Sometimes those instances entail bloodshed along with it. I don't know what's going to happen in this country, but it just seems like we're all sitting around staring into space. Peter Keisler, who once served as acting Attorney General under George W. Bush, was on 60 Minutes, and he said that he was incredibly disturbed by the way Trump pardoned these filthy criminal Nazis who attacked the legislative branch of our government on Trump's behalf. This is what Mr. Keisler said, quote, "I don't think anybody believes that these people would have been pardoned if they had engaged in exactly the same acts, but had stormed the Capitol in opposition to the president and his policies." He's referring to Trump. It says that you can commit some very serious crimes, he continued, but if you do so as an identifiable supporter of the president's agenda and political interests, you'll get off. And I think it was designed to send that message, end quote. So one more warning. And if you want a whole collection of warnings, go to Substack and read Stephen Schmidt's ongoing columns. Almost every goddamn day he has a new one out. And his column is entitled The Warning. And Steve Schmidt is a Republican, which at this point really doesn't mean anything because there is no Republican Party. Now, while this is going on, I don't know if you've noticed, there are established faces, members of television news media who are disappearing. The latest came from an announcement by Lester Holt, veteran NBC newscaster, and, he's the guy who's the anchor of NBC Nightly News. He announced today that he's going to disappear before the beginning of summer, is the way he put it. Joy Reid on MSNBC, who has been a fierce and powerful advocate for democracy and freedom and an absolute essential voice against this dictator wannabe son of a bitch Trump. She has been, well, I'll use the word fired by MSNBC. There have been a number of television anchor people who have been forced out since this Trump Nazi took control of the government, and more are coming. But when it was announced over the weekend that Joy Reid had been canceled by MSNBC, this filthy pig Trump immediately jumped on his toy social media platform to attack Brian Roberts, who's the chairman of MSNBC's parent company, Comcast. And the Orange Vomit also attacked a number of on-air hosts while he demanded, quote, vast sums of money, end quote, for critical coverage. In other words, he wants these networks to pay him because they haven't been offering up a blowjob to him the way the Republicans are in the Congress. And he called the critical coverage of him, quote, an unpardonable sin, end quote. Notice the language, sin, unpardonable. Well, he considers himself to be either a king or the Messiah or a combination of both, so sure, it would be a sin. He posted late last night on his filthy little toilet media platform this, quote, low-life chairman of Comcast, Brian Roberts, the owner of ratings-challenged NBC and MSDNC, has finally gotten the nerve up to fire one of the least talented people in television, the mentally obnoxious racist Joy Reid. Based on her ratings, which were virtually non-existent, she should have been canned long ago, along with everyone else who works there. End quote. What an obnoxious, filthy little prick this Trump is. This is the President of the United States using language like this. I would think, I would hope, I would demand, if I had the power of demanding, that a President of the United States keeps himself or herself above this kind of stuff. But Trump is just a gutter-dwelling prick. He's going to get into the slime and the slop because that's where he's from. That's where he belongs. Now, Comcast, which is an absolute telecommunications giant, announced a couple of months ago that it's going to spin off MSNBC, CNBC, and other cable media properties into a separate public company that Trump advisor Elon Musk has talked about buying. Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. Yeah. The new president, network president at Comcast, her name is Rebecca Cutler. She has announced that she's planning additional programming changes, even though viewership has gone up 77% during primetime hours and 34% in total day viewers since the orange bastard got the presidency. So, who are you going to believe? Christ, God, Lord, Nazi fucking loving Donald Trump? Or the reporting agencies whose job it is, like I don't know who they are anymore. In radio, it was Arbitron. I'm not sure who does the audience reporting now, where it concerns television. But what that rating service is saying is that viewership was up 77% on those properties owned by Comcast since the sewer rat, got elected. Trump also posted on his little toilet media platform, quote, also thrown out was Alex Wagner, the sub on the seriously failing Rachel Maddow show. Rachel rarely shows up because she knows there's nobody watching, and she also knows that she's got less television persona than virtually anyone in television except perhaps Joy Reid. You stupid fucking idiot. She seldom shows up. She's on every night, you dumb bastard. Oh, well, this is Trump. And he added this in his little toilet media post. He added, quote, then there is, of course, the low IQ con man Al Sharpton, who has perhaps the lowest TV ratings in the history of television. What is he doing to Brian Roberts to stay on the air? This whole corrupt operation is nothing more than an illegal arm of the Democratic Party. They should be forced to pay vast sums of money for the damage they've done to our country. Fake news is an unpardonable sin, end quote. And, of course, the irony there is just clotted and oozing off the page. For this toilet rat to call fake news an unpardonable sin, when, in fact, that's where this toilet rat dwells, in fake news, especially from his propaganda arm, the hideously destructive Fox Sewer. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. You know, the Progressive Voices Network brings you commercial-free commentary from today's leading progressive radio hosts and pundits, like me, Mike Malloy, 24 hours a day. I'm not your typical old guy from the 80s or the 90s talk radio host, and Progressive Voices is not your typical talk radio network. It's a listener-supported nonprofit with no corporate control whatsoever over our broadcast. So hosts like me, Mike Malloy, are free to rant and scream and carry on about whatever we like. We're often controversial, but we're never boring. Weeknights, 9 p.m. in the East, 6 p.m. in the West on the Progressive Voices Network. Always progressive, always on. I'm Mike Malloy. Keep it lit.